It is the last day of 2023 when I record this and also put it up, and I realized something that I neglected to do. Obviously, everyone watched the Game Awards. Everyone and their mother watched it. You can't even tell me you didn't. I know you're lying. And they saw all of these definitely not made up arbitrary awards, and they thought, okay, cool, awesome. But what does this one random guy on YouTube think? Like, well, what's his game of the year? And so I thought I should weigh in with my 2023 game of the year and talk a little bit about RoboCop Rogue City. I've already made a couple of videos about this, so this one is not a full review. It's not going to be that long, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about why I love this game so much and why I think it's worth people's time to check out. And I also want to say with this that I have started a new channel where I'm covering some more games, like role-playing games, so things that are Japanese role-playing games or also American, European. So things like Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, Fable, all that is over on JRPG. That is in the link in the description below. I'm trying to grow that channel a little bit, trying to find an audience for that kind of stuff. So if you're interested, please be sure to check it out because it means a lot to me. Now, RoboCop Rogue City is definitely a game that could have come out and completely relied on nostalgia and just been bad. But something that really impressed me with this game is that while you can tell it's on a budget, it also has a lot of heart and soul behind it. And I mean a lot of heart and soul. It's very clear that the people who made this cared about the intellectual property of RoboCop. And some people are going to say, well, who cares about RoboCop? But it actually is something that has a lot of fans, kind of like Terminator, where there are a lot of people that really connect with the movies and enjoy them. Unfortunately, just like Terminator, it's had a lot of good and a lot of bad. There's been a lot of products that have come out over the years that have been mediocre, a lot of things, even movies in the franchise like RoboCop 3 or the reboot that just don't really capture the essence of what a lot of people like about the character and about the franchise. And some fans are going to be upset at that statement. I will say RoboCop 3 and the reboot are on completely different tiers of that statement. There were a lot of conflicting visions with movies like that ended up impacting how some people view this character. But this character is actually very impactful. This character is a lot deeper than people realize. I've made some YouTube shorts talking about that, and this game gets into that quite well. It's a game where I think it really benefits from having watched the first two movies, which, yes, I know is a buy-in requirement, but I don't think it's any worse than any sequel. You know, anytime you play something like even Marvel's Spider-Man 2, you could play it on its own, but you're going to get more out of it if you played, the first game and Miles Morales. And this is the same way. I don't think it deserves any criticism for being a sequel to films, because I also think it does a great job just being a video game. It's a first-person shooter that takes place in a dystopian Detroit, and you are a robot police officer. You interact with a lot of people, there are crimes to solve, there are different things in a skill tree that you can level up in order to interact with the world differently and gain abilities, and overall it explores the humanity and asks some questions about the main characters that I think are surprisingly deep for a budget video game. I've seen a lot of people refer to the game as a AA game in terms of you'd have a indie game or you'd have a AAA game where it's this huge, massive budget, big experience, right, from a big company. And RoboCop is somewhere in the middle. It's a very good and competent game. You can tell at times that there's a budget. You can tell that there were constraints, but I'm really impressed by how much they managed to do even with that limitation, I should say, because they were able to get back Peter Weller, who, if you don't know him from playing RoboCop in the first two films, he also voiced Batman in the Dark Knight Returns movies, and I think he is a fantastic actor. His lack of presence in later RoboCop material is one thing that a lot of people really didn't enjoy. And so to actually get him back and to also get back his likeness and the likeness of some other characters, even ones that couldn't lend their voice to the game, I thought really added to the world. This is a game that I love because it's a celebration of movies that I enjoy that is very obviously made by fans for fans. And that's something I don't think we see enough. I'm not saying there's not places to subvert expectations and create your own narrative and do your own spin on things. Those are absolutely things that can work with established properties. But something I talked about the other day in a live stream that I really stand behind is that I'm a little tired of people using intellectual property as a vehicle for just what they specifically want to say, even if it has nothing to do with the IP that they're tackling. So like, for example, if I wanted to make a Star Wars movie, but really I don't care about Star Wars, I just want to talk about immigration rights. Well, I'm not saying that the person doing that, I guess in this case me, doesn't have anything valuable to say. It's just that it's kind of frustrating to a lot of fans of that IP if it has absolutely nothing to do with the IP. Like if I'm making a Star Wars movie and I wrote an entire story just around I have this one message and that's it. And then you can tell that the movie's kind of held together by, duct tape and hopes and dreams just on the back of me wanting to tell you this one thing. A lot of video games, a lot of movies, even a lot of comic books have suffered from it. Again, there's extremes to this. Obviously, I don't expect anything to be apolitical. Everything is going to have something in it, and everything is going to have a reflection in some way of the humans who made it. And that's fine. That's what makes art human. That's what makes these things real. But something I love about RoboCop is that you can tell with this game that they put the franchise fans first. They very clearly cared about doing right by fans of RoboCop, and they cared about making a fun video game. I think there's not enough emphasis on that anymore. There are absolutely places for massive, big budget experiences that are cinematic and, going for that huge feeling and going for the spectacle. There's places for games like Marvel's Spider-Man again. But one reason why Marvel's Spider-Man 2 wasn't my personal game of the year is not because I didn't like it, but it was because I felt like there were a lot of missed opportunities in the game for a game that reportedly cost upwards of $300 million to develop. There was a lot of stuff that I still felt, I wish this was different, I wish this was here, I really enjoy this, but some stuff that I wish had changed. With RoboCop going into it, I was always pleasantly surprised. I was always feeling like I was finding something else around the next corner, maybe a reference to a previous movie, maybe a new gameplay mechanic that they thought out very well, or maybe even character-driven world building that I was always surprised was done as well as it was for the budget the game was on. And this is something that I think modern video games could learn from. It's something that survival horror games used to do and don't do enough of anymore, and it's something that horror movies used to do and don't do enough of anymore, is instead of reaching well beyond the capabilities, budget, and constraints that the studio has, working within them to make the best possible thing they can within those limitations. That's something that I think RoboCop does extremely well, and it really, really impressed me this year by doing that. Now, at the end of the day, it's worth mentioning any person picking their game of the year, it comes down to I enjoyed this the most, and that's what this is too. This, when you compare it to another experience that is probably 25 times the budget and maybe, has 30 times the manpower behind it, of course you're going to find things like if this came out the same year as God of War Ragnarok, you're going to find those things and you're going to say, well, this is clearly a much bigger thing. I'm not trying to make that argument at all. Even with something like Marvel's Spider-Man, I'm not saying this game is better. My point is just, out of those two games, because I played a handful of games that came out this year, I don't get to all of them because of time, and I also really love retro gaming and playing old stuff. Like, I'm playing through Dark Souls 2 right now. But a point I'm making with this is that when you can do that, when you can make things like The Evil Dead, which Sam Raimi put together on such a small budget for a film and did such an amazing job of, and actually changed the horror genre of movies. When you can do that kind of thing, to me, it's more impressive than, yeah, a multi-billion-dollar company threw $300 million at us and we still had problems. That's my point, is that I am so impressed by what they managed to accomplish with RoboCop within the confines that they had, telling an interesting story about humanity, about the evolution of machinery, about what it means to be a combination of both, and, where the human soul is in all of that. Even tackling some human rights stuff with it. Like, this game was not afraid to talk about things. It just felt like it did it within the confines of what RoboCop is, instead of trying to completely change RoboCop, the intellectual property, to talk about whatever they wanted to. And same with the gunplay mechanics. Absolutely, if you threw $100 million more at this, there could have been more interesting, probably, or more visually impressive, I should say, things done with the gameplay mechanics. But you know what? People love this game. This game was, I believe, the highest launch ever for Nacon, the publisher, they said that they had. That's impressive. That's awesome. So to be able to see them make a game based off of this older intellectual property that doesn't actually get that much content outside of comic books and do it really well with a budgetary constraint and still be so impressive is something that I wish more games would aspire to. I'm also not trying to say every game has to be cheaply made, but we see this a lot of times with indie games. A lot of times you'll see indie games that took a lot of passion, a lot of time, and a small team at most to develop, and things like, even Shovel Knight, for example. Those things stick around, they have lasting impact, they really impress people, because I think a lot of people really yearn for gaming to have the option of getting back to just core, fun video game. And that's what I think RoboCop Rogue City does so well. It tells a story, it works within its budget, it has impressive gameplay mechanics, and also, at the end of the day, it's just plain fun. I want to see more games do this, and RoboCop Rogue City really impressed me this year because of it, and it's something that I hope people will check out. Yeah, there's a buy-in of watching 2 movies ahead of time, very short movies at that, which to me is nothing compared to like having to play multiple 20-hour video games to play a sequel, like, God of War or Spider-Man or any of these. It's, that's a nothing buy-in to me. I understand it is something, but even without that, it is just a fun game. And it's something I want to see more of in gaming, because I often think too many things think they have to be this big grandiose thing. And while there is a place for that, like I said, there's also a place for the RoboCop Rogue Cities, and I hope to see more of these going forward. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. I appreciate it very much. I hope you'll check this game out. I think it's a blast. I don't know really how many more videos I have in me about it, because I would have to think about if I have anything more to say. But I did want to make some more RoboCop videos in the future, so maybe there will be more to talk about with this game. If you do want to check out other stuff we do, I play through video games over on our other channel, Degenerate Plays. It's a Let's Play channel. The link is in the description down below. I'm trying to get more people to see that. I also do have a Fortnite creator code, which helps support this channel. I have channel memberships, a Patreon, that's all down there. And I have my new channel, JRPG, where we are doing stuff on RPGs and JRPGs. I've also been making Sailor Moon content and stuff like that with my wife, so anime stuff over on her channel, Magical Jill. And of course, finally, we do have our own website store, cosmobunny.shop. That's down there too. All this stuff goes to help support the channel. I appreciate you very, very much. And I appreciate those of you who came to this channel this year and enjoyed it. Huge thank you to some of my members right here, putting a big thank you to all of you. Means a ton to me, and I hope in the year to come things will improve for this channel, maybe get a little better, because 2023 was a little rough, but I had a fun time regardless, and I hope I entertained some of you. Have a fantastic day, and as always everyone, stay shui.